What's up, you guys? On today's episode, I'm gonna be showing you guys how I do the EQs for my congas. Um, like I said in all my other videos, I really don't do too much on them. I try to keep them pretty simple. Try not to do too crazy of an EQ. I want them to sound natural. I like for my congas to sound a little bit more on the warm side half of the time, but there are times where I make them a little bit brighter. It's all depending on the style that you're gonna use them for and how the musician wants them to sound. Alright, let's get started with this one. We're gonna start off with our first one, which is gonna be our high conga. And then put up the volume on it so you guys can hear it a little bit better. So the first thing I'm gonna do, like every EQ, is I'm gonna start off with my low filter, with my low cut. On the low cut, I'm just gonna raise it up and just slowly bring it back so that the drum doesn't sound too dead. Right here is excessive. It's taking out all the bass note to it, giving it more sound. So what I'm gonna do is slightly bring it back a little bit. Right there sounds pretty good. I'm gonna go back a little further, just catch a little bit more of that low end. So we did a cut on it around that 250. And now here's the thing. If you're gonna want for it to sound more warm or to have more tone, you're gonna want to boost the tones in it, which is the bass note or the main frequency to it. If you want for it to sound a little more brighter or a little bit more of a smack, then you're gonna kind of want to control that and bring it down a little bit and bump up your high so that you can get the smacking sound from the hands. So per usual, do a pretty tight EQ. We're gonna bump it up to about 10. And then we're gonna hear for that frequency on this one right now. So our keynote on this instrument is about that 375-ish. Now I'm gonna open it up a bit. And like I said, if you want a warmer sound, you can leave this boosted. If you want for it to be on the brighter side, you could turn this down just a bit. You don't want to overkill the tone. I'm not putting too much. All I'm doing is just taming the sound a little bit so it's not so harsh for sound. And down to the next one, just we're gonna look for kind of the smacking sound of the hand. Plus 10, back in the Q on it a bit. And this is where we're actually gonna bump. We're not gonna lower this one. We're gonna look for a sound that we like. For me, I feel like it's right here. This is at that 860 mark, 850, somewhere around there it was. Open it up, bring it down just a bit. Kind of has a little bit of an overring to it, but that's kind of what I'm looking for on this one. To help brighten up that drum a little bit more. And now on our top end, we're gonna look for a little bit more of a smack. Same thing, tight band, and we're gonna look for a sound that we're liking here, not that we're trying to get rid of. There's a dryer slap right here. here is a little bit more on the crispy side. It's a little bit like this one more right here. Turn that down a little bit more and widen it up. And then on the top end, we're gonna put a high cut right here, just to get rid of like any symbol bleed or any extra stuff that might be a little too much. And usually for that, I put it around that 14, maybe 12, between the, I want to say between 12K to 14K is usually where I put it. And now for our compression. So when it comes to the compression on the congas, I like to put a little bit more sometimes. And the reason being is when you have the conga guys do multiple hits, they tend to get louder with it. And so it kind of helps tame that down, but not overkill it. So right now I'm gonna find my threshold for he's playing soft. Right there. And the hold on these, I honestly do a 0 just because they're quick hits. And since I kind of want that slapping sound a little bit more still, I'm gonna put the attack to about a 15. And the release, make it a little bit quicker, we'll see. And you can see when he's doing like the fill with it, where he's doing multiple hits, it's going down to about that 4 mark, taking about 4 away from it. If you want, you could go a little higher on the gain. You can bring it up a little bit. Bring it up 1.5. It doesn't really need too much. And now we're gonna do our gate. The gate, same as usual. We're gonna work our way to the point where it starts cutting out. We'll put the hold all the way down, even though it's not needed right now. I'm just looking for it to be cutting in and cutting out quick. Now right here, you can hear that it's already starting to act up. So what we're gonna do is I want the attack to not be too fast, but not too long, because if it's too long, then you're gonna kind of have open sounds coming in from the mics. So what I want here is I'm gonna probably start off with about 30. For the hold, I'm gonna bring this up little bit by little. And then for my range, I usually put it about negative 51, 50, maybe 45-ish. I try not to put it all the way, just because if the guy is hitting soft, I want the gate to still kind of get that soft note, give it a chance to come through. And now my release, I'm gonna bump it up to a longer time so it sounds more natural, so it doesn't sound like the drum's fighting it. Go a little bit longer of a hold. And that right there sounds pretty good to me. So now what I will do is I'm gonna add just a little bit of effect to it. I believe this one is a vintage reverb at about 1.8. What is that? Seconds or milliseconds? 1.8 seconds. And we'll go back to our sends. Just a little bit, doesn't need much. And what I'll do is I'll pan this one a little bit to the right. And when you're looking at them on the stage, usually the high one, depends on the conga guy. Usually the high one's on the right hand side, and then the lower one will be on the left hand side. So you kind of want to visualize it and you want to match it a little bit. But you don't want to be too harsh on the penny, just a bit. And now we'll bring that one down and we're going to work on our low conga. Same thing. Right here, we're going to start off with a low cut and we're going to work our way to it. This one we want it to be a little bit more since it is our low conga. We don't want it to sound empty like it does right here. Right here, we're starting to get a little bit more body of the conga. That works for me right there. The same thing, we're kind of going to look for that frequency, but with the RTA it kind of tells you which one's standing out a little too much. Usually the one that stands out is already going to be your bass note or your bass frequency for that instrument. If you want to tame it, that's the one you're going to go to. You're going to bring that down a little bit. If you want to boost it, you can bump it up and it'll sound more like this. You'll get a little bit more of the tone of the instrument. Now, this is good if you want a warmer sound, you could do that. If you're looking for a little bit of a drier sound, you could reduce it. Just a bit right there. And now for my next one is where I'm gonna start looking for the slap of the instrument. Same thing, To EQ. Boost this up. And we're gonna start looking for a harsher sound, the smacking of the hand. Reduce this other one a little bit more. So right here, this is an overtone of the instrument. Sounds a little beefier, the sound, so I'm gonna go here, bring it down just a bit. And same thing right now, we're gonna look for the smack of it. We're gonna look for a smack that I want. And like I said, I like my congas to be a little bit more on the brighter side just because I want them to stand out in the mix. Give it a second, see what it sounds like again. For this one, I kind of want a fatter sounding smack, a little beefier. So we're gonna go right here. And same thing, just widen it up. And then on our high, we're gonna do a high cut again. Reduce down so the extras are coming in. Now it does have a bit of an overtone. If you wanted to, you could control the overtone that's right here and you could take that out instead of adding a slap. Let's see how that sounds. Now we're going to our dynamic. Same thing, ratios for me is usually a 3:1 or a 2.5. Now I'm gonna use a 3. I'm gonna bring down our threshold. We'll make the hold 0.1 for now. We're looking for this threshold to start hitting. Okay. And I want to take away on a tighter attack. it about a 10 ms. And my release, I want to make it a little faster too, since I don't want it to go too much into the next note. And put our hold to 0 to see how that sounds. Now we're gonna go to our gate. Same thing. We're gonna look for it to start cutting off. And I want to get rid of that extra stage noise that's up there. You don't want to do it too high or else it's not gonna let the softer hits come through. A little bit less. And now we're gonna bring our attack down so it cuts in a little quicker. This is what a fast release sounds like. Sounds a little too choppy. If you make the hole tighter, then it doesn't even give it a chance really. It cuts out because there's no time being held right there for the gate to allow the sound to come in. So we're gonna bring that up. A little bit more still. And now I'm gonna bring up my release so that it doesn't attack its sound so quick. Now we're starting to sound more natural here. You can hear it pretty choppy because that's the gate kicking in. And right now we're mainly listening to this channel. And same thing. I'll pan this one a little bit to my left. Bring both of them up together. See how they sound. So I can hear my low one is attacking too quick. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring down the threshold on it. There we go. We're gonna bring up a little bit of verb on it. Not too much since it kind of already has it. If you overkill, it's gonna sound like this. And that'll cause a lot of feedback on your stage, especially if that reverb is going into the monitors or if the microphones are picking up the front of house speakers. And this high one, we're gonna give it a little bit more effect. On the high one, I left the overtone because it is the higher time. I wanted to have a little bit of a ring to it so it can stand out a little bit more. Now we'll bring up some of our instruments so we can blend in the sound a little bit more. Like I said, I do a really simple EQ on them. I don't like for them to be overkilled. I like them to sound natural. I don't want them to be too harsh. If you want, you can still go in and do more of a lower threshold on them so that you can really compress the sound of them. But like I said, it's up to you. I'm just giving the basics or the bass line to it. You can mess with it. On my high one, on my low one, I'm gonna do a little bit of a boost just so it can come up a little bit. Hold a little bit longer. And right now they sound more natural with each other. simple EQ. I try not to overdo it. Like I said, I want the instruments to sound natural. I don't want the instruments to sound robotic or to sound overwhelming. They're just simple EQs and they help out. And honestly, like I said, EQs are simple. I just want the instruments. We're just kind of controlling the tone that are too excessive or too much. Just reducing it down a bit so that it can sound a little bit better, or we're cleaning it up. Like I said, on my congas, I like them to be a little bit on the brighter side. I don't really like for them to be sounding too muddy. Everybody's different. Some guys don't like the smack on them. So if you don't want that sound, you can reduce the highs or you can look for that smack that's coming through, cut that down, and you can bump up the bass note of that instrument. But for me, I like them to sound a little bit on the brighter side. I like them to be a little harsher so that they can stand out with the rest of the band. And that's gonna be it for today's EQ. If you can, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It would be greatly appreciated. See you guys on the next one.